evening, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Roger Mitchell Jr., and I am the 126th president of the National Medical Association. Thank you for being here this evening as our production team pulls up our first slides for this webinar. I wanted to make sure that you are all aware that this NMA AI and Innovation Task Force was developed to create an opportunity for us to lean into our AI and innovation capabilities. And tonight's briefing is just for NMA members. So if there are people that are joining today that are wondering why it's not on Facebook Live, it is just for NMA members. So if there's still counterparts or colleagues that want to join, please have them join. This will also be enduring content within the NMA website for NMA members. So we want to make sure that I wanted to let you know that early. Next slide. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about artificial intelligence. It's really not a future concern. It's shaping our clinical practice, our payment systems, our exposures, our patient trust. It is right now. And so over this past year during the presidency, I've enlisted the durable leadership of Dr. Charles DeShazer and Dr. Edmondo Robinson to help us understand why AI and how we can lean in across all of our capabilities at the National Medical Association. The challenge is that AI is coming and it often does not have physician input. But the imperative is that we as physicians, and particularly Black physicians, really need to make sure that we protect our patients' autonomy and the integrity of practice and make sure that some of the disparity and inequities that have been baked into past healthcare practices don't get baked into the AI revolution in healthcare. So our role is to deliver clarity, build confidence, and inspire confidence, and provide structural protection for our members navigating this transformation. And so without further ado, throughout the rest of this conversation, you'll hear from first Dr. Charles DeShazer and then Dr. Edmondo Robinson. Please start getting your questions together. You can put your questions within the chat so that both doctors can begin answering your questions as they go through their slides, but also at the end. Without further ado, our task force on AI innovation and entrepreneurship, co-chair Dr. Charles DeShazer.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. We can go to the next slide. Really appreciate that introduction because this is really a critical effort for us. And the way we've structured this is into 6 work streams that are designed to be a closed system and interrelated, building skills, influencing policy, driving operations, focusing on innovation, and then how does that turn into revenue? And then how do we create permanence? Because again, this is not an effort, this transformation is not going to be temporal. I mean, it is going to be very disruptive, and we really need to position ourselves to lead it and not be just a participant. So the 6 elements are education and member empowerment, policy, advocacy, and leadership. We want to test out some operational innovation within the NMA itself, as well as a bit of a lab to begin to think about this. And in addition, you'll hear as well, we are going to be empowering our membership with tools as well to impact their operations. We also want to recognize and leverage entrepreneurship and leverage the many opportunities as well to take advantage of this instead of it passing us by from that perspective. And that includes monetization and sustainability and looking at how do we create a long-term continuity in terms of this particular effort. We can go to the next slide. So the first work stream we're going to dig into is education and member empowerment. And the key point here is that um, the competency is really the gateway to being able to leverage the power of AI. And it's critically important for us to provide a foundation of education and understanding where AI is going to impact the clinical practice of medicine. And we need to move from this overwhelming confusion to really having confidence and control in terms of how we're leveraging these tools. And AI literacy is no longer optional, it is a core clinical competency. And so, within that context, we want to focus on the areas that are already impacting. I'm sure everyone can attest to this, your day-to-day workflows and activities, such as ambient AI, autonomous agents and workflows. I was just at HIMSS, and Epic now has three different kinds of agents embedded within their EHR. And it's incumbent upon us to understand that, and how can we design agents and be a part of that rather than an observer. It's going to be critical to have strong AI governance and oversight, because the potential of AI to go off the rails is incredible. And between hallucinations and the ability of AI to be very inconsistent in its responses, I think that is, in the clinical arena, it's going to be critical to have guardrails and controls. And then finally, patient-facing AI interactions. I just saw a Lancet primary care article that talks about patients are not waiting for permission. I mean, they are diving in to AI, all the way, and we need to be prepared for an environment where patients, Dr. Google was one thing, but Dr. Chat GPT is a whole nother ballgame. And some of the deliverables will be around learning modules, practical toolkits, CME and non-CME learning opportunities, and then frameworks again, so that as our membership, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can go to the next slide. And so the benefits that we want to deliver to the membership is the goal is not just awareness, but actionable competency in this space, that you can apply in your practices, your institutions, and your leadership roles. So practical workflows and understanding, how AI can be leveraged in a powerful way, governance skills, risk reduction. This is going to become a thorny issue as time goes on, when you consider we're creating agents that autonomously make decisions, and what happens when that decision is wrong. And as well, the other thing that's going to be important is to look at this time as an opportunity for career advancement, in leveraging an interest in this into a career potentially. And there are going to be jobs that are going to be shifted and changed, and there are going to be many jobs created as a result of these capabilities coming online. We can go to the next slide. The next work stream is policy and advocacy leadership. Again, the NMA is perfectly positioned to influence, and it's going to be critically important to take on this role as these different elements take shape in the real world. And the one reason why this is so important is because AI is moving faster than pretty much any technology we've seen. And the ability of a top-down regulatory model to manage that is not feasible. And so the governance is going to end up being at a more micro level, at a state level, at an institutional level. And so we really have to wrap our arms around that, and the NMA can play an important role in shaping the national guardrails around AI governance and policy, making sure that we protect physician autonomy, because this is a technology that can be very intrusive, in terms of autonomy. And we want to make sure that it augments and not supplants clinical judgment, for example. Ensuring, again, patients are protected around privacy, consent, and disclosure. And finally, making sure that there's representation in governance because we really need to have a voice and be not observers, but architects of this next phase of how care will be delivered. If we can go to the next slide. And then what members will benefit from is that we want to create plain language guidance, uh, help to translate policy into practical protection and a alignment that would be very critical as this transformation occurs. Looking at things like algorithmic protections, for example. United Healthcare is investing over $3 billion in AI. uh, how are they implementing that? And is it being implemented in a way that, again, protects autonomy and patient rights, et cetera? We want to be sitting with the other standard settings organizations, FDA, CMS, et cetera. So it's really going to be important from a policy standpoint for the NMA to lead and help drive positioning going forward. We can go to the next slide. And then finally, from the third work stream, we want to focus on actually some operational innovation within the NMA. And so, again, NMA headquarters, small office, but there's an opportunity to test and pilot some small applications and implement some of the frameworks and governance models in a way that helps the NMA to function more effectively and to be a better, service to our membership. You can go to the next slide. And in that way, really provide leadership. And so what that looks like, things like faster content and communications for the educational content, for example, we're going to leverage AI to produce content and organize information, better coordination, support for leaders, and lower friction and clear accountability. So we're looking to actually test out tools within the NMA operations as well. And so those are the first three work streams. We're going to next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Robinson to discuss the next three work streams.
Sorry, I was answering a question live. So great question as well that I just answered in the chat. Good afternoon, good evening, y'all. So let's get to the second half of these work streams here. Starting with work stream number 4 with entrepreneurship development and support. Really, we're looking at here the opportunity to support, accelerate, and provide an ecosystem infrastructure for physicians that are innovating. And so they're out there, and what we're really trying to figure out is let's take the lead. To similar what Dr. Shazer says, like let's not follow, let's actually lead, and then let's support the docs that are actually out there leading. There's a few different kind of channels and ways that we can operationalize this concept. As you can see here, right, thinking about something like speaker bureau, kind of resource network, and really kind of positioning NMA docs as the subject matter experts in some of this, right? So when folks are looking for who knows the thing about some of these innovations, they can actually come to our group, to our association, and say, hey, we know that we have a collection of SMEs in this space, and then really thinking about it. These are new functions. This is a lot of work. It's a lift here that we're going to be going through, but really thinking about how do we take it to the next step? How do we go from kind of just the concept of supporting innovators to the nuts and bolts of supporting innovators, right? Thinking about the legal components, thinking about the FDA and regulatory components, even all the way through to things like go to market, things like how to sell, kind of components like your product roadmap, all of those concepts, right? As you support innovators in this space, and then making those connections. We've got a really powerful and well networked and association and members. And what we can do in this space and really should do is leverage that network to support some of these innovations as well. So that's where we think about the partner connection piece. Let's go to the next slide. So here's how we can deliver direct member value along this line of the entrepreneurship support. Again, office hours, expert network. It's almost you can even imagine something like a mentorship type of model, but we really can bring in those folks who have experience in a particular area, whether it's legal, whether it's regulatory, commercialization, product, all of those components, and actually again serve as subject matter support for folks who are looking for that kind of support. Again, how do we educate founders? How do we actually bring these innovators through? You've got a concept, but how do you go from concept to product, early product, out into pilot, out into commercialization, out into scale? That whole continuum. There's folks throughout our membership that have been in all of those phases, and we really can bring folks together around that. And then again, is there this opportunity to develop a dedicated network around innovators and innovation, where we really can support each other peer to peer and advance some of these concepts. One way that all of this, and this may come up later, but I want to throw it out now because it's not explicitly stated. But one way that we're going to operationalize a lot of this concept, not all of it, but a lot of this concept is through an accelerator, right? And so one of the components that the NMA board has supported is NMA being a signatory and foundational partner of an accelerator that is going to bring early stage companies through that are digital and focused on addressing health disparities, right? So we bring those companies through. We support them in all of these ways that you're describing, that has been described here on the last two slides. Everything from, again, commercialization, legal, all of those components, and we really plug them right into some opportunities for not just mentorship, but commercialization, pilots, and scale and moving forward. So that is in process. We're working on that now, and we hope to have some really exciting announcements coming out in the coming months. Let's go to the next slide. So, in the next work stream is monetization and sustainability, and so this is the world we live in, right? Money makes the world go round, as I say, with all of the nonprofits that we have worked with, no margin, no mission, right? And so you really have to think about, what does it mean to have a long-term sustainable approach to the work that we do, to the missions that we are all signed on to. And so really there's avenues here where we think about how do we accelerate the NMA itself as an entity, as an organization, whether it's be in CMEs and certificate types of pathways. Really thinking about vendors in a different way, right? There's a lot of folks on the commercial side who would look at NMA differently if they knew that we were sitting on a bunch of subject matter experts around all these different components in AI. It looks like a different organization, if that's the case. And so why don't we start developing that, marketing that, and engaging around that, still with the core mission of NMA at the foundation, right? It's still about making sure that we are serving our communities, right? And the communities that we serve, overwhelmingly around these underrepresented communities, really thinking about equity. Charles already, talked about, AI itself and making sure that technology itself is equitable, and we'll certainly weigh in on that. But we want to make sure that we are always have equity in the conversation. There's some, there might be some hallways where you're not allowed to say health equity, but this is not one of them, right? So we will continue to embrace this concept. Safety, transparency, accountability. All of those are foundations to who we are, and there'll be foundations to this work around AI as well. Let's go to the next slide. And so again, it's you start with your mission, right? You don't deviate from your mission as you're chasing dollars, right? So you're always core with the mission, education, excuse me, education, advocacy, innovation. All of this opportunity around AI is an opportunity to accelerate the mission, right? And again, we're still about making sure that around this concept of equity, health disparities, and serving underserved communities, that's our framework for how we think about our guardrails, how we think about the transparency and the components around that. But there's a lot of opportunities to think about program design, and to think about how we might expand, let's call it the menu of offerings that NMA itself can provide. Let's go to the next slide. Workstream six, are the sixth of the work streams, is long-term continuity and section development. So what we really we didn't want this to be a flash in the pan. As Dr. DeShazer said, AI is here to stay. It's already here, and we really need to think about how do we build long-term, sustainable, and endurable, infrastructure and activities and assets that will serve the members, serve the association, and serve our communities the way that our mission demands that we do. So, again, the task force itself is temporary, but some of the again, enduring components will be longer term, right? So thinking about the governance, some of the governance work that was already mentioned, and we've got some work going on, led by some great docs, thinking about how do you develop an innovation entrepreneurship section with really kind of spending time around that concept, and really focused attention and energy on that. Let's go to the next slide. And so here are the potential kind of deliverables, as we're saying, when we think about long-term sustainability and durability, and that positions us to be that national voice for equitable AI, right? There's others that are already saying that they're the people, but they'll sing folks that had never uttered the word equity before in their lives, right? We've been saying it the entire existence of this organization, and now they want to come in and say they know about equity. Well, we know about equity, and I'm telling you that we know about AI as well, right? And so why don't we put our long-term and long-standing expertise and combine that with this new technology, and come out as the folks that really should be who you look for when we're talking about something like equitable AI. So again, charters, metrics, how, there's some of the things that were talked about before, measurable outcomes, really running folks through, like kind of algorithms and so forth around how you do some of this work. We're really looking at, are there some formalized relationships and partnerships? We actually started to establish some of them already. We've got some signed off work now, and we're really going to think about expanding some of that. Are there both, you can think about payers, providers, you can think about some of these technology organizations, other nonprofits, and really let's come together around some of this work, right? So you guys may have heard of organizations like the Digital Medicine Society or Rock Health, and those are the kind of organizations where they don't have what we bring to the table, and they need it. And we really should be thinking about how do we partner around that. And again, thinking about this idea and moving the energy along around the idea of a new section within the NMA. That's a heavy lift as well, but it's one of those that, again, when you think about long-term sustainability and durability, that's one of the potential outputs here from this work. Let's go to the next slide. So here's our 90-day priorities. Charles, do you want to jump back in on this one as we go through these priorities?
Sure, absolutely. And so again, try to really break this down into actionable tactical initiatives. So number one is the micro education pilots. We're going to look at setting up a regular webinar, Ask Me Anything webinar in office hours with experts, for example. Publish some initial guidance around these frameworks again. So we don't folks don't have to reinvent the wheels, and we can process all this information that's coming in, and separate the signal from the noise as well. So what you will see coming from us will be signal and things that are going to be important to recognize, to apply, to think about. Stand up innovation support. To me, this is very exciting. The framework that Dr. Robinson just talked about. I mean, we really have to get ahead of this. And frankly, there's, a lot of innovation that's going to happen, a lot of successful companies, initiatives that are going to emerge from this transformation. We need to be a part of that, and we need to make sure we're represented in this new era that's going to emerge as this transformation occurs. And then again, we want to begin to test some models, for example, within the NMA operations as well. So again, just trying to take the work streams down to some practical examples. There's going to be much more. And again, as we think about sustaining the model, we're going to build out other components that would go way beyond and be, multi-year efforts, for example. So, but just want to give you all a sense of tactically what you can expect to see over the next few months. We can go to the next slide. We go forward. Yeah. Uh, we go we go forward to the next slide. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. And Dr. Robinson leaned in here as well, but we really want to underscore that we need participation. And Dr. Robinson alluded to this, NMA members join pilots and learning cohorts, share feedback. We really want this to begin a conversation and an interactive discussion. In the systems that you work in, health systems, payers, et cetera, let's connect some dots and collaborate and partner on pilot programs. Again, as was stated, engage the NMA as a trusted advisor. I mean, we have the credibility for being committed since our inception to health equity, and no one else can say that. And so that's a huge opportunity for us to really have an impact and supporting innovators and investors. Partnering with the NMA on equity aligned product development, for example. So, this is such an important time. We really need to activate the entire membership to get engaged and help us to, really take advantage of this transformation rather than to be an observer.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm convinced that many of the assets that we've just spoke to here through these last several slides already exist in the membership.
Mhm.
Already
Exactly.
exist in the membership, right? And so, one, because I've seen them, and I've seen the quality of the members, and so it's a matter of coordinating and collaborating across those around specific and directed activities as we've described here. And where we have gaps around subject matter expertise or other types of assets, then we look to expand, educate, grow, partner, all the other pieces that you need to fill out the overall targets here. But again, I'm convinced that a lot of these assets already exist in the membership.
And we can
Is
move to
there?
the next.
Yeah, another slide here.
And again, the value proposition, I think, is very compelling. And we really want to understand AI clearly, lead with equity and accountability, protect patients in this process and shape policy, and use AI safely and defensively. And again, um, we have to make sure we're not left behind, overridden, or harmed by this tremendous transformation that is happening. This is not coming, it's not far off. It is happening today at a pace we've never seen. And we can go to the next slide. And so we'll pause here and open it up for questions and thank everyone for their time and engagement. And, we'll, I'm not sure if we want to answer through the Q&A or other methods, but we want to open it up at this point.
No, thank you so much. And there's been several questions in the Q&A that Dr. Robinson has been answering. And one of the questions that came up that I wanted to um, have you answer a little bit more verbally is this accelerator that we're involved in. Can you go with board of trustees and then just recently in the interim House of Delegates, we have approved our involvement in the accelerator. Can you talk a little bit more about the accelerator, types of things that we should be seeing, what we should
Yep.
anticipate coming out of the accelerator?
Absolutely. So, thanks for that cue up, Dr. Mitchell. So, the concept of the accelerator is a couple fold, and it's unique in that it brings together a couple elements that other accelerators may have one or two pieces, but haven't brought it all together. So, one, we're really looking at digital innovation, so something that has some digital component to it, tech-enabled services, pure SaaS, those kinds of concepts, but we're looking for companies that are specifically able to articulate that they are addressing health disparities and improving health equity, right? So those types of accelerators used to exist. There were a couple. There weren't many. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a floodgate of them. There were a couple. They went away under over the last couple of years under pressure, as you might imagine. So we're bringing that back. And so that's one concept is we actually are looking for companies that are addressing health disparities. That's one. Two is we're actually starting with the problem definition and not the solution, right? What do I mean by that? What we see is we're looking for a bunch of companies. We're looking for AI companies, and we'll just bring a bunch of AI thing, and we have no idea if they're solving any real problem for any real person, right? So instead of doing that, we're going to go to the end users, the docs, the providers, the payers. We're already in the process of doing that now. We're going to ask them, what are your actual problems? What that need to be solved vis-a-vis health equity? Let's articulate them. Let's break them down. Let's make those concrete. And then those problem statements are what defines which companies we bring through the accelerator, right? So we start with the problems, the real problems that we need to solve in our communities, and then we find solutions that are actually going to address those problems. We bring those through the accelerator. Now, the way the accelerator will work is, again, it's an accelerator. It's not an incubator, right? There is a difference, right? An incubator, you've got an idea. We need to develop a company. With an accelerator, you already have a company. You often already have product. You already even have some what we call ARRs or annual recurring revenue. So you actually have sold some things, but you need to accelerate your work to go from not go from 0 to 1 to go but 1 to 100. The accelerator will have a curriculum around it where we are leveling up the founders and these companies, and it will be attached to these partners, right? So the partners, including NMA, including Rush University, which is one of this already signed on signatories on this, will be contributing significantly to the development of the companies as they go through. At the end of the accelerator program, it's typically these kind of programs are typically 16-ish weeks or so. We haven't defined exactly how long it'll be, but it's around then. There's a couple things happen. One, they have what's called a demo day, right? So that's an opportunity to get in front of investors as well as potential customers and really say, hey, we've learned a ton, and here's how we think we can really solve problems. And investors can sign up. Investors are already chomping at the bit right now to line up for that demo day and to see what comes through the accelerator. And then after the demo day, we really are lining these companies up to have pilot projects come right out of the accelerator. So they should be with some of these partners, start to develop their pilot projects and go right from kind of early days accelerator into commercialization into some of the more prominent health systems in the country after going through this accelerator. The accelerator will this first cohort will be in Chicago, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, Rush was an early signatory. Also, Illinois Medical District, which is the local innovation district in Chicago, it has leaned in as well. And so we'll be this first cohort will be in Chicago. Future cohorts actually will probably rotate to other cities. We've got a couple of folks that have been raising their hands, including some folks in North Carolina and Jersey as well. And we will be kind of working on the pre-work, right? So the developing the partners, getting the financials, the sponsorship, and all that those pieces. That's actually the critical component that we're working through now. And then we really hope to be able to announce the accelerator, have the application process ready. We're looking at late Q3 to Q4 of this year, 26, with the launch of the actual accelerator program with the companies in it in Q1 of 27.
So there was a quick question surrounding the funding of the accelerator. Can you just talk a little bit about that funding? Who's funding it? You talked about investors. Obviously, there's some nonprofits that are leading the way on the accelerator. The NMA
Yep.
is a partner in the name, but can you talk a little bit about funding?
Yeah, so that's the hardest part of this actually. So the way that the funding is going to work is the partners, health systems and payers, will contribute, and what they'll get out of it is they'll get first right of refusal, probably what we call kind of favored nations, most favored nations pricing, but they'll get direct access to these innovations. Again, we're developing innovations with these partners in mind after having these conversations. That's typically how it's done. There may be some foundational support that we're looking at, some foundations, not foundational, but foundation support that we're looking at. So there's some other family offices and those sorts of things that might be there as well. Honestly, like big funds, investors, VCs, they don't typically fund the operations of the accelerator. They like to come in and actually fund the companies directly. That's how they use their funds, and so that's actually also a benefit to the accelerator as well. It doesn't help the accelerator run operationally, but it does help the accelerator be successful because we can say, hey, at the end of the day, our companies were able to generate X dollars from investors after going through our accelerator. So that's a heavy lift, the fundraising part, and that's where we are right now.
I wanted to just answer a question that was in the chat just about longevity, and we talked a little bit about longevity. Just to be clear, although this is a presidential task force, this task force will live as a subcommittee within the physician executive section beyond this year. So as we go into July, after July, this task force will live as a subcommittee within the physician executive section. So those people that are interested in participating, those people that want to get involved, those people that want to tap this process, which is the AI innovation and entrepreneurship, that will live beyond a task force because presidential task force sunset unless they're picked up by the next incoming president. So this task force will live within the physician executive section. Just to answer that question for anyone who is interested in that. There is a question surrounding AI education in the meeting in July. I don't know where we are and whether or not we've been able to be successful in identifying where we can have some AI education in from the task force, but I know that the Cobb Institute is having some AI education during convention in July. Dr. Robinson, Dr. DeShazer, have you been able to determine whether or not that AI education is going to live anywhere else within the convention?
As of yet, not confirmed. We knew about the Cobb Institute, but we have not confirmed that we'll have other education outside of that. But that's not to say the answer is no. It's just has not confirmed as of yet.
Thank you for that. Looking in the chat, uh, there is several that have been answered in the Q&A. I asked you to take a look at those. Any other questions for Dr. Robinson and Dr. DeShazer? And any other comments that you feel like you need to add, either one of you, to this discussion before we close out?
No, I think the main thing, and just I'm looking to see if there's any other questions pop up. Appreciate everyone jumping on the call on the webinar. The main thing is we're just getting started, but we're excited. There's a lot of momentum here. And we're not talking about externally. We know there's momentum externally. There's a lot of momentum internally around this work. A lot of engagement around this. There are foundational infrastructure types of components that we really need to put in place here so that we have a strong foundation to be able to lead from. Right. And yeah, this is true when I'm advising health systems around AI. It's like, what's your foundation, right? Have you built a foundation around governance? Charles talked about it. Have you built a foundation around governance? Have you built a foundation around equity? Have you built a foundation around your assets, your expertise? That's the same thing that we have to do here, and we have to build those foundational pieces. That's the task of the task force, and then leading into kind of the permanency around the subcommittee. That's the work, building that, but that will lead to many gains in the future, and that's what's exciting.
Yeah, I would just tag on to that, and part of the objective of the task force is to move interested members from awareness to understanding to influence to ownership. And I think this is a transformative technology that we've never seen before, and I think the opportunity to lead is going to be really critical for us.
And part of the conversation, just to end with this, we had a conversation during colloquium, which was phenomenal conversation that we had, very robust. And I think we ended that conversation similar to how I want to ask this question. There are people on this call right now that may have their own practices, maybe in practices within their academic institution. They may be in a hospital, they may be in a clinic, they may be researchers. Can you give them one way they can start engaging with the AI technology that might help them start incorporating it into their day-to-day activities, as a clinician, as a researcher, and as an educator? Either one of you, both of you, but either one of you can go first.
So Charles always has a good one for folks who are thinking about how to get started in their day-to-day practice. I'm gonna take a step back and say, if you're in, let's say, an academic institution, a health system, things like that, honestly, one of the first steps to get involved is actually see if you can get yourself on one of these governance committees. Actually place yourself on a government. They'll call it AI governance or something like that, data governance. They'll call it one of those. Get yourself on that committee. I will guarantee when you get on that committee, you'll look around and realize you're the only one that looks like you, right? And so get in there, because if you don't, there won't be anyone there, right? So one, you'll learn a ton, but two, you actually will contribute from day one, and that'll be a great way for you to get started.
Yeah, I want to second that. I think that is absolutely critical, and that's really something we really want to encourage and equip folks to be able to do that. And the other thing I would add is that this is a technology you have to experience it. And the interesting thing is that the power is a latent power. you really don't understand it until you push the limits of it. I've been pushing the limits of what this technology can do. And I'm telling you, 80% of the time, it does not disappoint me. Very complex questions of, you can't use it like a Google tool, like a search engine, one or two sentence prompt. I use a page or two of prompts that really bring out the power and the complexity of what it can generate and create. And so I would just encourage you to test it out for yourself and really push the limits of, what you ask it to do. And you'll be surprised, and it will generate ideas around where you can take it.
So that's really good. We have a couple of questions that jumped into the Q&A. If we can take a look at those. We have a upcoming a medical student. Maybe one of you can take that answer, and then the last question from Dr. Woods.
All right, how can we plug into this work? The question from the future medical student here, send me a note. I'll drop in that. I'll just drop my email and just send me a note directly, and we'll take that one offline.
All right. And then the last question. Thank you, Dr. Mintz. Phenomenal talk. Thank you for your leadership, mapping out the way forward. There's deep knowledge and access in big tech here in Los Angeles that we can tap into. We can have a drop. We have to drive the conversation to make sure equity is at the forefront. Well, I think that's a great statement. I think that there's opportunity, and we want all of our members. If you're interested, please get in contact with the task force. Let them know your interests so that we can make assignments as we're building out these 6 areas of engagement for our members. We're going to need as many individuals that have the interest and want to engage across all 6 elements. With that, I want to thank again Dr. Charles DeShazer and Dr. Edmondo Robinson, not only for your time in preparation for this webinar, but also for your time and preparation for the task force. And then there's share a link for the AI readiness survey for practitioners that's being answered by Dr. Robinson. Again, thank you so much. We will let every member know when this webinar will be posted for consumption for the rest of the members. But again, we know that it is happening now, and we cannot wait for the future. The future is now. So thanks again for all of your attendance. Thanks to our production team, Ms. Jennifer Young, for pulling this all together for us. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.